infinite power in the palm of my hands. That is right. This week on our deck profile, I have Miragegaogamon Burst Mode. So, before getting started, let me just say, I never played it because it just felt bricky and slow, so it was put in the back burner, just letting it cook. And now this deck might be the best blue deck in this format. Also, like the previous deck profile, I will add some tech cards that you can possibly use for this deck, as well as go over combos and some hand keeps that you can use to make your game better. Starting off with the babies, I am running the BT14 Bukamons. They have a crazy inheritable, probably making this the best blue baby ever. Probably even better than Wanyamon. The inheritable says that when my opponent has no Digimon with more Digivolutions than this Digimon, it gains jamming. This is insane for blue because we don't have like any protection when it goes to swinging into security. Anyways, you run 4 of those babies. Let's move on to the rookies. The rookies in my list goes as follows. I'll run 2 of the BT11 Vmons. On play, reveal 3 out of Digimon with Vidramon in its name, as well as a blue Tamer. Now, unfortunately, we only have 4 cards that we can grab with this Vmon plus the Tamers. So we usually want to evolve this in the back because inheritable is also pretty good. When I play a blue Tamer, I gain 1 memory. It's pretty decent, especially if you get to play your Tamer for free and you gain that memory back. Now let us continue with the next rookie. I run 4 of the EX4 Gaussbon. It has a non-play that my opponent and I draw 1 card, and an inheritable that says when a card is added to my opponent's hand by an effect, I gain 1 memory. This deck is all about memory gain, so we can go big and go home. The last set of rookies I have is 3 of the BT11 Gaussmon that have a similar on play as Vmon, but this time I get to add any Gaomon Digimon. The only differences, aside from like grabbing the Gaomon, is that if we don't find anything, it gets trashed. So, just be careful with that effect. The inheritable in this Digimon it's also not that great, because it says when attacking, if I have a Tamer in play, I can return a level 3 Digimon, which doesn't always resolve. So the inheritable is not that great, but it's more so used for the search as well as the Vmon search, So now you've noticed that I only run 3 of these, and that's because I don't have a 4th one. I've been searching, but for some reason everywhere I look, it's sold out. Maybe because Miragegaogamon is actually a pretty good deck. Anyways, if you have 4, run 4 of these. Otherwise, you'll run the extra card that I'll show in a while. But that's it for the rookies. Let us move on to the champions. So champions are pretty straightforward. You run 4 of the BT13 Gaogamon, and this is the only time where I raise when I have a rookie in the back, because this guy, when digivolving, it allows me to play a Thomas without paying its memory cost. So remember that Vmon that gains 1 memory for a Tamer? That's a pretty neat combo that you can do, where you can raise, evolve for 2, play your Thomas, and gain 1 memory back. And now you can either play the Thomas, the memory setter, or the Thomas that allows you to draw 1 on play. Now the inheritable is not as important because we have jamming, but if my opponent has 8 or more cards in his hand, I gain plus 1k DP during all turns. I guess if they wanted to swing or reduce my DP, they would have to think of that extra 1k, but I don't think it matters that much. The next Gaogamon that I run is the EX4, and I'll run 4 of those. This guy on Digivolve, I get to return a level 3 Digimon to my opponent's hand. This works well if they have floodgates and I can't use my training cards or my memory boosts, so I can return that floodgate and be able to use those cards. Now the inheritable is pretty good. Like I said, this deck is about gaining memory, so the inheritable, if when a card gets added to my opponent's hand by an effect, I gain 1 memory. Lastly, my champion line, I'll run 2 of the Lanamons. Hybrid for game? Anyone? Now, it's been pretty standard for a Mirage deck. So Ultimates is where there's some variation that you might see online. With the restriction of the Miragegaogamon from EX4, there's a lot of players running different lines. So these are the Ultimates that I'm running. I run 1 of the EX4 Miragegaogamon that got restricted because it's pretty good. When digivolving, I can return a level 4 Digimon from my opponent's field to their hand, and the inheritable is busted. When attacking, once per turn, if my opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, I get to unsuspend. Now, to be honest, I'm still a little confused as to why this card got restricted, because there's other cards that you can run that are equal or not, or if not better. So I'm not sure why this card got restricted. So if you guys know, please let me know, because I have no idea. So leave a comment down below if you know, or explain to me why this card got restricted, because I have no clue. Now let us continue on to the next Digimon. So I run 2 copies of the BT14 Miragegaogamon that have an inheritable that allows me to unsuspend if a card was added to my opponent's hand by an effect. Now this is a once per turn, but this is an all turns effect. So say you decide not to use it when attacking, you pass the turn.
Huh?
Wait, no. This means that you can use it during your turn as well as my opponent's turn, because it's a once per turn. So say you use all your swings, you pass it over, my opponent adds a card by its effect, and they wanted to swing over it, or they wanted to swing into it or whatever, you get to unsuspend. That's actually pretty insane now that I think about it. Pretty good. Now lastly, but certainly not least, because this card is absolutely insane, I run 4 of the starter deck 8 Aerovidramons. It has a gemming, which, I mean, it doesn't really matter because we gain gemming from the babies, but the inheritable effect is so busted. If I have 8 cards in my hand, I get security +1. This card, I mean, this deck is all about checking as much as possible with a passing turn, and this is allowing me to do 2 checks, possibly ending my game in 1 turn, but stay tuned for that. But that's my ultimate lineup. So let's go on to my megas. I run 1 of the BT13 Miragegaogamon. It has an evade effect, so if it were to get deleted, I can suspend it to prevent the deletion. I believe that's how it works. I don't usually use evade. I use it more so for the second effect. Oh, when digivolving, I get to return an opponent's tamer to their hand, which might come in handy sometimes because it's only a one-off. So just be careful when you use it, because it might be good against machine or stuff like that, or to return the memory setters and they have to waste a turn playing the memory setter again. So it could be good in some scenarios, but not all the time. If my opponent gets a card added to his hand by an effect, I can get to play a Tamers for free. So say I return a tamer, that means I can play a tamer of my own. Pretty good. Now the next card, it's the juice. It's the juicy stuff. Oh, delicious. I run 4 of the BT11 Miragegaogamon. Now this card, when digivolve, I get to return a level 5 or lower to my opponent's hand. If no card was added, I then return the top security to my opponent's hand. Then I gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in my opponent's hand. Oh, just so good. It's insane how good this card is. So that effect that I talk about of gaining memory, it's a once per turn, but it's also null turns. So if you pass it over to your opponent and they add a card by an effect, Miragegaogamon gains me memory, so they could potentially lose turn. So they have to be very careful on how they want to play their turn if I have this guy on the field. And now what makes this deck even better and beyond, it's Miragegaogamon burst mode added in BT13. Now I can digivolve for 0 on top of a Miragegaogamon if I return a Tamers to my hand. That's okay, because it doesn't really matter. Now when digivolving, I return any Digimon from my opponent's board to their hand. And once that happens, or once a card gets added to my opponent's hand, I gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in their hand. I feel so bad for my opponent. Now that's not all. When attacking, if my opponent has 9 or more cards in his hand, I get to reduce his hand to 8 by putting the rest of their cards to the bottom of their deck, and I get to unsuspend. Like, what the heck? So, bro, I'm telling you, this combo is insane. You gain memory back from Miragegaogamon, then you gain even more memory for burst mode. Then you get to play your 3 cost Tamers that you can tap, so then a Miragegaogamon can unsuspend and swing for more. Like, this combo, this deck, oh my god. With Jimmy? Holy. Now, there's no protection against option cards, so you have to be very wary of that. But it doesn't really matter, honestly. Like, it's just so good how fast and good, efficient, and sexy this deck is. So don't worry about them security cards. Just go at the security. Don't worry about the options. Just keep at it. Keep swinging. So that's it for the Digimon section. Let's go over Tamers and option cards now. I run 3 of the BT4 Tamers. He is at 3 cost. On play, I draw 1. Now, like I said before, if my opponent has 8 or more cards in his hand, which, I mean, listen, if he doesn't, then what is wrong with you? We're giving him so many cards to add that it's impossible for him not to have 8. Anyways, if he has 8 or more cards in his hand, I can tap the Tamer to unsuspend my Digimon, or at least a Digimon with Gao in its name, which it should be your line. Unless you're stuck in Aerovidramon, then I'm sorry for you. You just bricked. The other Tamer that I run is the BT14 Tamers. He's a 4 cost, but he's your memory setter. And when a Digimon with Gaogamon in its name attacks, I can suspend that Tamer to add a card to my hand as well as to my opponent's hand. That's even more cards getting added to his hand. And then you can trigger all your inheritables, gain memory, Mirage, gain more memory, burst mode, gain more memory, Thomas, swing, 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 swing. You get the idea. Now that's all for Tamers. Option cards, I run 4 of the new mental trainings that reduce the cost of my next Digivolution by 2, making this. Oh, and I also reveal 2 cards from the top of my deck, and I can add any blue card. Now, you can't activate it right away. There's a delay where you have to wait a turn to pop the mental training to reduce the cost, but you can wait a turn because you're gonna end it in 1 turn if you can, which I feel like you should. And the other 4 of I run are the blue memory boosts. This is the one that I would cut 1 and just run 3 to add the Gaomon, my rookie Gaomon, but don't have it, so 4 memory boosts do the job pretty well. On play, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, and you can add any blue Digimon to your hand. There's also a delay, but you can pop it or gain 2 memory. Pretty good card, and very consistent because it works as a searcher. Now the last 2 that I run are the full meteor blast. Now this card, for a whooping massive 8 cost, I can return any Digimon to my opponent's hand. But guess what? This is a Mirage card, so you know the other effect. I gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in his hand, making this maybe sometimes a 6 cost or a 5 cost. And I don't know if it happened on my games, but I think it almost was for free because he had an ace underneath it, so I returned it, gained overflow, then gain memory back from my opponent's hand. I think I almost played that for free, if not by 1, but it was clutch. It was good, unless that was another card. So that's it for the list. Let's talk about some tech cards. It was hard to think of different cards to use, so while I think my deck list is fine, there is some wiggle room that you can use to exchange some cards here and there. So let's talk about them. In the rookie section, instead of running the Vmons, you can opt in the new Gomamons from BT14 that at the start of your main phase, this Digimon cannot be blocked. So this is good for like early pressure where you can just raise that Gomamon and swing without it being blocked if there is a blocker on their board. If not, then I mean you can still use it. It's pretty good. The inheritable is all right. I mean, it doesn't really happen a lot, but you can, when the card is being deleted, you can pop out a Gomamon for free. So I mean, I guess you can run that. Now, if we're talking about new cards, you can definitely use the new Zudomon Ace. This card, you can strip 2 from any Digimon and any strips, and then if there's a Digimon with no sources, you can then bounce it. It's also counter, so it works as a hand trap, so you can activate it when your opponent is attacking. It's a level 5. Again, I don't really see the use, but correct me if I'm wrong. Again, this is just my thoughts. It's not always the best thought or the best idea, but I don't see myself running this card. And if you do, I will run it at 2. If more than that, you're actually trolling Or maybe I'm the troller. Just let me know in the comments if I'm the troll or if you guys are being trolled by this card. I don't know. Lastly, I would say a decent option card to add is I.O.I. I.O.I just works so well on any blue deck. When it's checked in security, I activate its main effect, which I trash the top 4 sources of a Digimon, and then Digimon with no sources can't attack. It's also, if you were to play it from hand, it's a 4 cost, making this a pretty good option card. But again, there's really no stripping on my deck, so I don't see a use unless you're actively seeing Royal Knights in your local meta. Then you should really think about adding this card. Otherwise, I mean, you do you, brother. You do you. So that's it for the tech cards. Now let's quickly go over some combos as well as some hand keeps. I don't know what to call that. Hand keeps. Let's start off with some hand keeps. A decent hand to keep for going first would be a rookie, your mental training, and that will put your opponent at 2. Whatever you reveal, you grab whatever is best to fit your hand. Then you can either keep a level 4 Gaogamon that allows you to play a Tamers for free. That's a pretty good hand. And of course you want a Tamers in your hand. So that's 4 cards, and then the 5th card you can be whatever. Now a god hand, in my opinion, for first will be rookie, mental training, Tamers, and the Gaogamon that allows you to play Tamers for free, which is the hand that I just explained. That's an insanely good hand. And if you have a level 5, even better, because then, and if you have Miragegaogamon, you have lethal basically. Now you can also just start with a rookie, whichever rookie you want. It doesn't really matter, because if it's like a searchable or you evolve into the back, it doesn't really matter. And you can keep the mental training as well as your memory boost. So there's options. You can evolve in the back, then play mental training or play your blue memory boost. Or if you want, you go second, they put you at 3, say, you play your searcher and as well as the mental training or the memory boost if you want to give them 3 memory. So it doesn't really matter, but those are good hands. Now, if you're going second, I would keep a rookie, a champion, and either the training or your memory setter. So say they put you at 2, you evolve in the back, you evolve into your champion, and then you play either the mental training or your Tamers, your memory setter. Now, if you mulligan and you still have a dookie hand, the best you can hope for is for a search rookie for either a hard play or like an evolution in the back, and hope for a champion and either your memory setter or a memory boost. And that hand should be able to stabilize your hand because you're playing a searcher as well as a memory boost and you have a setter. So I pray for you that those searches are pretty good for you. Now for combos, I mean, it depends on if you're going first or second. If you're going first, you can easily go rookie and then either your champion or you play a mental training. Turn passes, say you would race, evolve, play Tamers, and if you have a level 5, pop mental training, so you evolve for 1, and then if you have Mirage, just go into Mirage and then clear his board. Now the super setup would be to have setter, your memory setter, your Tamers, your 3 cost Tamers, as well as a mental training and or a memory boost. You have already Aero Vidramon sitting in the back, you race him, you evolve into Miragegaogamon, gain memory back, swing, that's 2 checks, tap your 3 cost Tamer to swing, that's 2 more checks. If he doesn't have 8 or more cards in his hand, or if he has 8 exactly, you tap your memory setter, so we both draw 1, so he is now at 9. You go into burst mode, you return your 3 cost Tamers, a card is returned from his side, gain more memory back, attack, now he's at 10, keep him at 8, swing, on suspend because he had one attacking effect, that is 5 checks and swing for game. Now, say something happens, well, he has no security, so you can go with all the memory you gain, you can easily go into your Lanamon and swing for game. Hybrid for game, anyone? This deck, you want to play it like you want a turtle in the back. You want to evolve to a level 5 in the back and then just swing when you have Miragegaogamon and Burstmon on your hand, because you gain a lot of memory, so you have plenty of combos that you can use, especially with playing your Thomases and suspending them so they get cards in his hand, so you tap your 3 costs to unsuspend your own Digimon. If you have the Gaogamon that allows you to unsuspend when they have 8 or more cards in their hand, or when attacking, like, it's just insane. the way you can play this deck, and you can basically end games in one turn. Anyways, that's it for the deck profile. Miragegaogamon has become a favorite, definitely. I was a hater back in the day, back in BT11, 12, and 13. I wasn't a fan of it. It felt bricky, but I feel like I figured out the ratios, so it's feeling pretty good. It's feeling pretty good. At the beginning of the video, I said it might be like the best blue deck, and I stand by that. I don't see any other blue deck being better than this. Even Blue Flare, which I love, and I feel like it's decent in the meta. I still feel like Miragegaogamon is pretty good. That's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, as well as the other videos. I said it yesterday and I said it again. You guys are doing numbers that I was not expecting at all. 400 views on the deck profile. Like, I know I love Tommy, but that's just insane. I know I love Blue Hybrid, and that's just insane. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys would be so kind enough to hit that like button, the little subscribe button, as well as the little bell to get notified when I upload a new video. You don't have to do that. I'm just saying you can if you want to. If you feel like my content is worth watching and you want to keep coming back, just hit those 3 buttons, as well as leave a comment down below. I love interacting with like people. I love talking about Digimon, so please feel free to leave a comment. Let's get this started. You know, if there's enough people, there might even be a Discord in the future, maybe, because I just love interacting with people that love Digimon, especially people that love Blue. So please leave a comment, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Ta-ta! Mwah!